Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 59 based on novel. So let's start. Unknowingly, Xiao Yan has been in the spirit world for 10 days. Outside, Xiao Yan, the final champion of this year's Medicine Refiner Conference, refined the second-order medicine refiner of Imperial Product Quandan. After the Medicine Refiner Conference, he completely disappeared for 10 days. In this regard, many forces in the wild ancient city were surprised. A living man, a dignified and semi-imperial strong man, disappeared quietly after the Medicine Refining Masters meeting, which was enough to attract their attention. In 10 days, the family forces who had originally come to visit Xiao Yang could not bear it. Either they gave up on their own initiative, or they thought Xiao Yang was deliberately entrusted, so they left one after another. The Herbalist Guild did not give any explanation, because they knew nothing about where Xiao Yang had gone since he left, and no one saw Xiao Yang leave the city in the wilderness. People who know that Xiao Yang has a Void Thunder Pool post in his hand also have a judgment in their hearts. The Void Thunder Pool can be an unusual cultivation material, which can quickly improve the strength of the semi-emperor strong. With Xiao Yang's temperament, it is absolutely impossible to give up. Even if he leaves the city, Xiao Yang will come back within 2 months. Of course, many people turned their suspicious eyes to Union Pavilion. I still remember that at the herbalist meeting that day, Old Xian came out for Xiao Yang on behalf of Union Pavilion. With Xiao Yang's cultivation talent, maybe it will be valued by Union Pavilion. Maybe Xiao Yang is staying in Union Pavilion at this time. It's a pity that although people have some ideas, what force is the cloud-hidden pavilion? Not to mention that there are not a few people who are afraid of it in the wild ancient city, even looking at the whole southern region. You can't find the cloud-hidden pavilion even if Xiao Yang is indeed among them. It can also be seen how terrible the deterrence of Union Pavilion in the southern region is. In a remote quiet house in a remote ancient city, in a dusty house, at the moment, there are several figures dressed in brocade robes sitting around a table. These people were Mo Zhai who fled in a panic at the drug refiners meeting. However, in the field at the moment, in addition to Mo Zhai, Yang Bing and Hu Laogay, there was a complete stranger present. That little beast is so greedy for life and afraid of death. In order to avoid us, he went missing again. Mo Zhai's eyes were cloudy. At the thought of Xiao Yang, his heart suddenly became angry. His reputation accumulated for many years was taken away by a younger generation. What Xiao Yang got should have belonged to him. Hide from us? Not necessarily. Old Xian has come forward. Even if Ju Tai has left and his puppet, it's not so easy for us to move him. Yang Bing's eyes narrowed slightly. His cold eyes made several people feel a chill rising from the younger generation. Hu Laogay's eyes flickered slightly. He looked at the 3 guys sitting in front of him, but he was honest and silent. Although the later guy was not as strong as him, he was also a real top strong man in the later period of the 7-star and half emperor. At present, Mo Zhai seemed to be looking forward to Yang Bing's horse head. He was the most vulnerable one in this group. He naturally had to be very careful. When he heard Yang Bing's words, Mo Zhai frowned. He thought Yang Bing was trying to destroy his prestige with the ambition of others. With the peak strength of Yang Bing's 8-star and half emperor in his later period, he could not be afraid of a lifeless puppet. As for the mysterious old man, it would be better to give it to old Hu directly. There is no need to fight endlessly. Just hold on and leave Yang Bing enough time. Elder Yang Bing, this. You think that Guli and red phosphorus can't be decorated? They are brothers for many years. They have a tacit understanding. They work together. Even I have to spend a lot of effort. How can I kill the rock owl with these hands? This remark was like a basin of cold water directly poured on Mo Zhai's head, and the rising anger in his heart was instantly extinguished. Seeing this, the 7-star and half emperor knew that Yang Bing was very dissatisfied with the Mo Zhai. If it weren't for him, Yang Bing wouldn't have had anything to do with Xiao Yang, let alone with Ju Tai. Now Yang Bing was angry. He quickly said, "Well, where will this rock owl go? It's impossible to disappear silently in the wild ancient city. There are many semi-imperialist strongmen in the city. They will find subtle fluctuations in fighting spirit. Not to mention that rock owl is also a herbalist. The fighting spirit in his body is more popular. Once he makes an action, he will be found." Hearing this, Yang Bing pressed down his anger, narrowed his eyes, and fiercely poured a mouthful of tea into the cup. Then his palm suddenly grasped the jade cup, which turned into a pair of powder and floated down between his fingers. No matter where he is now, we only have to wait for him in the void minefield. I don't believe that the group of Union Pavilion will send someone to protect him. Oh, yes, as long as Brother Zhong Hao successfully breaks through the 8-star-and-a-half Emperor, we will start to find them immediately. At that time, it will be the death time of Yang Xiao and Ji Yu Li. Hu Laogei's skin smiled and Meat echoed without laughing. However, Yang Bing's eyes flashed a cold light, glanced at the 7-star-and-a-half Emperor called Zhong Hao, looked at Hu Laogei, and said in a very domineering cold voice, "No. When I break through to the 9-star-and-a-half Emperor, I will personally kill the 3 of them." This cold drink made Mo Zhai and Hu Laogei suddenly freeze in their hearts. Their actions were slightly undetectable. They met their eyes, then looked at Yang Bing and nodded fiercely. At the moment when Hu Laogei nodded, a cold sweat trickled slowly from the hair temples on both sides of his cheeks. In the spirit world, on a mountain top, Xiao Yang slowly withdrew from the cultivation state with his eyes closed and knees crossed. The turbulent fighting spirit in his body was gradually pressed down, and the world with the wind roaring all over him was calm again. At this time, it's evening. The sky is getting dark. At the end of the distant line of sight, there are strands of golden glow. The blue sky is suffused with a red light at the moment, and the burning clouds hang in the sky like fire. Xiao Yang looked at the golden glow calmly and gradually changed into a gaze. The golden glow reflected from the depths of his pupils turned into a peerless woman in blue. It's Xiao Yang's wife, Zuna. Xiao Yang raised his palm gently, and the fighting spirit emerged in the palm and gradually condensed in front of Xiao Yang. Zuna appeared in front of Xiao Yang with the same gorgeous and peerless face as Kaylin. Zuna. Kaylin, unknowingly, I've left Duki mainland for a year. How are you doing these days when I'm not here? The palm lifted gently, and Xiao Yang gently stroked the cheeks of the 2 illusory beauties in front of him, as if they were right in front of him. A year away from home, although it was not long for a strong man like them, the isolation of the mainland made them miss each other more. At this moment, several figures are standing in front of a vast lake. The first is a peerless woman with gorgeous figure and cold temperament. Beside her, there is a peerless beauty who is as beautiful as the former. On the side of the 2 women, a tall and strong man is standing upright at the moment. Thank you, Chief Demon Ming, for lending me the Joyo Yellow Spring. The first one to speak was the beautiful woman headed by her. Her words were exported. The other woman on the side also smiled and nodded in agreement, casting a grateful look at the Demon Ming. Ha ha, there's nothing to thank you for. It's just a small matter. All the blood crystals in the Joyo Yellow Spring have been collected. I'm afraid my family won't use it again for a long time. In that case, I'd better be a favor and lend it to sister-in-law Kaylin. Ha ha ha. This peerless woman, rather than the one beside her, is the 2 daughters of Kaylin and Zuna. When the matter of Joyo Huangquan was settled, Zuna looked at Kaylin with a worried look in her eyes and frowned. Kaylin, are you really going in? I'm worried. Listening to Zuna's concerned words, Kaylin smiled warmly and nodded. The white jade hand slowly stretched out and held it with Zuna's soft and delicate hand. What are you worried about? I just go in and have a look. If there's anything, it's not too late. Moreover, with my current strength, I can't go anywhere in the mainland. It's just such a lake. I'll go down if I go down. There's nothing to worry about. The voice fell, as if to completely convince Zuna. Before Zuna spoke, Kaylin immediately said with a smile. Besides, aren't you afraid that guy will forget us when he goes to the new world? If he wants to find a wife again, what shall we do? If it's really okay, I'll go and watch him first and see if he dares to flirt around. When the words came out, Kaylin and Zuna couldn't help laughing, and the demon on one side couldn't help glancing. The 2 women talked and smiled and gave a few instructions. Although Zuna didn't want to, Kaylin insisted on doing so. Zuna couldn't stop her if she wanted to. Instead of worrying in her heart, she might as well try her best to pray for her and hope that Kaylin wouldn't have an accident in the Joyo Yellow Spring this time. At the same time, Zuna also missed Xiao Yang again in the laughter just now. She almost forgot that as time passed, Xiao Yang had left the fighting mainland for a year. At this time, she thought of it, but she was more worried. She wanted to enter the original mysterious channel and go to the place where Xiao Yang was located to find Xiao Yang. In Zuna's absence, Kaylin's delicate body trembled, and her soft body suddenly appeared on the lake. Finally, she looked at Zuna and Demon Ming on the shore, but a dignified color appeared on Kaylin's beautiful face. She doesn't know what there is at the bottom of the Joyo Yellow Spring. The reason why she wants to go down is that she just wants to understand how such a huge family of colorful sky-swallowing pythons ended up like this. With the rapid passage of time, invisible, Xiao Yang has disappeared in the wild ancient city for half a month. Although Xiao Yang's concealment also caused quite a storm in the whole wilderness, this storm only lasted for less than half a month, and was gradually suppressed by more and more semi-imperialists in the wilderness ancient city. There are new stories about the ancient wild city every day. Even though Xiao Yang is a genius and the art of refining medicine is unprecedented in this wild city, the story of the ancient wild city will not stop for Xiao Yang alone. When some strong people in the wild ancient city noticed the influx of semi-imperial strong people, although they would be curious about who they were, they would react quickly. If so many semi-imperialist strong men can flock to this wild ancient city, I'm afraid I can't find a second reason except the once-in-a-century void minefield. Until now, some old people who knew this matter in the city just woke up. This calculation day is only 1.5 months away from the opening time of the void minefield. No wonder all these semi-imperialist strong men who are closed for cultivation on weekdays will come to the wilderness. If there is no major event, they are not in the mood to come here. For the semi-emperor strong, especially the high-level semi-emperor, it is not easy to improve their strength at present. It is unrealistic to rely on the natural materials and land treasures that can enable the semi-emperor strong to improve their strength. You know, this is the border of the mainland and a barren land. How can there be any peerless cultivation resources? Even if there are, they should have been pocketed by those powerful warcraft. It's not so easy to take them from them. Instead of asking for trouble, it's better to practice at ease. In contrast, this is the right way. Now, the empty thunder pool is an exception among many cultivation resources. In just a few days, nearly 100 semi-imperialist strong men have appeared in the wild ancient city. Such a huge lineup can also be called a very strong presence in the whole southern region. Nearly 100 semi-imperialist strong men gathered in the wild ancient city. For a time, the whole wild city was even more lively. Naturally, they gradually forgot Xiao Yang, the favorite of heaven. However, the bustling wild ancient city is also accompanied by more and more powerful emperors and semi-emperors, but it has caused trouble. Naturally, there is no denying the strength of the semi-imperialist strong. If the strong at the same level fight, it is difficult to know the outcome of the war. Therefore, generally speaking, even if there are contradictions between some semi-imperialist strong, they try not to do it without doing it. However, now, although we are semi-imperialist and strong, we also have mutual scruples and rarely do anything, but now, the scene is different. Seeing that the void minefield is getting closer and closer to the opening time, the total number of void minefield posts is only 30. Nowadays, although there are nearly 100 semi-imperial strong men in the wild ancient city, in the end, less than 1/3 of them can enter the empty minefield. This result will make most of these semi-imperialist strong men go in vain. But half-emperor is half-emperor. If you can reach this state, who doesn't have a little pride in his heart? They worked hard to get a void thunder pool post, but in the end they came for nothing. This is absolutely unacceptable in their hearts. Therefore, even if they can't enter the void thunder pool in the end, these semi-imperialist strong men will never be willing to be a spectator. In this way, the continuous fighting in the wild ancient city was officially launched in the void. This is not only to compete for the qualification to enter the void minefield, but also to show the results of their cultivation in the battle. It can be regarded as a kind of show-off and an alternative game. In the Herbalist Guild, President Jiu Li and Red Phosphorus stood in the inner courtyard. They looked up at the fierce battle circles above the sky and couldn't help sighing. Alas! Where did the rock owl go? Now the void minefield is about to open, but at this time he plays missing again. At the thought of Xiao Yang, Jiu Li couldn't help shaking his head and was curious about Xiao Yang's whereabouts. After Xiao Yang left the medicine refining guild that day, he disappeared completely as if the world had evaporated. He didn't even leave a trace of breath, which really seemed very strange. Red Phosphorus also frowned slightly when she heard the speech. She was worried about Xiao Yang. She hesitated a little and said, "Jiu Li, do you think the rock owl will be killed by Mo Zhai?" Before he finished, Jiu Li waved his hand lightly, shook his head again and said, "It's impossible." At that time, Ju Tai was still in the wild ancient city, and they fled in confusion. They knew Ju Tai's power and would never rush to shoot the rock owl. Yang Bing knew this very well. Once found, even he could not afford the consequences. Now, all we can do is watch the change. Maybe when we worry about the rock owl here, it's not certain where he is sitting on the mountain watching the tiger. Jiyu Li's eyes narrowed and his heart was thoughtful. He looked at the increasingly hot battle circle in the sky again. Jiyu Li said secretly in his heart. After all, he was like this last time. Shenlingji. On the top of the mountain, Xiao Yang, who was practicing with his eyes closed, moved his eyebrows slightly, his eyelids trembled slightly, and withdrew from the cultivation state. He turned his head. Luo Laro's figure came slowly not far behind, and Luo Jin, who followed by him, had already left the spirit world. Seeing the visitor, Xiao Yang quickly got up and saluted respectfully. Although he is familiar with Luo Lao, the elder is the elder, and the elder is the elder after all. Xiao Yang is rarely inferior to others in terms of etiquette. Of course, it is based on mutual respect between the two sides. If people don't offend me, I won't offend. Respect me and pay you back. This is Xiao Yang's principle. Luo nodded with a smile as a return gift. Compared with Xiao Yang, Luo was very casual all his life. Etiquette was just a superficial thing for him, but Xiao Yang's attitude made him quite satisfied. Hehe, if it's all right, I don't bother to disturb your cultivation. However, I'm afraid you're going out. Walking to Xiao Yang, Luo Laro said with a smile. Ah! Hearing Luo Laro's words, Xiao Yang immediately felt a burst of consternation. What this meant was to drive him away. Koro is not that kind of person. Is he a Shenling people? Xiao Yang frowned. He didn't know what he was thinking. Even some people doubted the Shenling family. Hehe, don't think about it. The Shenling people are not the kind people who don't report their kindness. The reason why they let you leave is because someone came to the door. Moreover, if I guess well, that person should come to you. As soon as he said this, Xiao Yang immediately picked his eyebrows, and his heart was not surprised to find him. Outside the Shenling clan, Xiao Yang has never mentioned to anyone about participating in the spirit world. How can anyone know that he is here? However, looking at the smile on Luo Laro's face, the guy who wants to find himself should not come to find trouble. In that case, ask him how he knows he's here. Buzzing, with a circle of invisible energy ripples spreading, a young man dressed in black robes and with a beautiful face strolled out of a seemingly dilapidated courtyard in the south of the city. At this moment, in front of the porch outside the courtyard, a figure hesitated in front of the door, hesitating whether to go in or not. The courtyard in front of us, as everyone in the wilderness knows, is the place where the strong man who is respected as Luo Laro lives. Today, his purpose is to come here to confirm his inner guess. The rock owl has been missing for half a month. In the past half a month, the power pattern in the wild ancient city has been constantly changing. The strong semi-emperors gathered in the wild, which has continuously raised the strength of the strong semi-emperors in the wild ancient city. Normally, the 3 stars and semi-emperors can control the power of one side, but now it is insignificant among the strong semi-emperors. At present, I don't know who sent the news. In addition to the disappeared rock owl, there is a 3-star semi-emperor holding a void thunder pool post in the wild ancient city. The spread of this news made a group of semi-emperors in the wild ancient city suddenly crazy. Their bloody eyes full of greed patrolled every 3-star semi-emperor, as if they wanted to see through his bones. Coincidentally, when people were searching for the 3-star semi-emperor, the news came from nowhere, but it spread wildly again. This time, everyone's eyes stared at the Qin Zhong, who was familiar with Xiao Yang. Yes, at this moment, the person standing in front of the courtyard is Qin Zhong. Now, the void thunder pool post is like a hot potato. Whoever falls into the hand will become the target of public criticism. In addition to those high-level semi-emperors, Qin Zhong has the void thunder pool post that everyone knows in the wild ancient city. Therefore, in recent days, the whole wilderness has rioted for Qin Zhong. Anyone below the 7 stars and a half emperors is crazy looking for Qin Zhong. If Qin Zhong had not known himself first and knew that with his current strength, it would be difficult to hold the void thunder pool post in his hand. He would have hidden long before the news spread, otherwise he would not have had the opportunity to appear here. Standing outside the entrance, Qin Zhong hesitated with both expectations and concerns. In fact, Qin Zhong didn't know that Xiao Yang was here. This time, he just wanted to have a try. He hoped to find Xiao Yang, but he didn't let Xiao Yang be his shelter. Before that, Qin Zhong had secretly been to the Herbalist Guild. Now he is the target of public criticism. Everyone wants to get the void thunder pool post on him. Naturally, he should be careful. Even the elders of the Herbalist Guild should be on guard. Seeing Jiyu Li and Red Phosphorus, they naturally knew the relationship between Qin Zhong and Xiao Yang. Therefore, they also gave a real answer to Xiao Yang's whereabouts. However, the results were unsatisfactory, but Qin Zhong knew that they would not deceive themselves. After leaving the Medicine Refining Association, Qin Zhong's first thought was naturally the same as what most people thought. Xiao Yang must be in the cloud-hidden pavilion. After all, on that day, Shenlaro Dai Union Pavilion came forward for Xiao Yang. Everyone in the wild ancient city saw it with their own eyes, but on second thought, Qin Zhong frowned. Union Pavilion has a hot business all day, and there are many semi-imperial strong men. If he goes in, he will be caught. Although the rules of Union Pavilion are strict and it is absolutely forbidden to fight in it, even if it is to expose its whereabouts, it is also a devastating blow to Qin Zhong at this time. Neither in the Medicine Refining Guild, nor in the Cloud-Hidden Pavilion, nor out of the wild ancient city. In addition, the only place Xiao Yang can go is this seemingly dilapidated and silent courtyard at a tea present. This is the only place in the city that is still connected with Xiao Yang, and ordinary people will not think of it, or dare not come to the door outside the entrance. Qin Zhong looked at the courtyard in front of him nervously. Compared with looking for Xiao Yang, Luo Laro in the courtyard at this time made him more nervous. In this case, the more hesitant people are, the more nervous they are. Since Qin Zhong came here, he has been standing in front of the door for nearly an hour, and there is no need to say more about the tension in his heart. At this time, even his normal breathing becomes rapid, and there is a trace of cold sweat on his forehead. In the inner courtyard of the courtyard, Xiao Yang came out of the spirit world. The huge soul power made him aware of the person standing outside the porch at the first time. I can't imagine that it was him. It seems that he came here with a try attitude. Is it because of Luo Laro that he hasn't come in? Xiao Yang smiled and shook his head. Luo Laro's deterrent power in this wild ancient city is really terrible. With the strength of Qin Zhong, 3 stars and half emperors, he can be called a strong man in the wild. It's really amazing that he shows this appearance at this moment. Xiao Yang walked towards the outer courtyard. The wooden door between the outer courtyard and the inner courtyard was closed, so Qin Zhong could not see Xiao Yang, and the small courtyard was shrouded in Luo Laro's breath, so it was impossible to explore. Hey, what a coincidence. Isn't this the ancestor of the Qin family? Why, those who are chased by the semi-emperors have nowhere to hide, so they want to come here to seek refuge from Luo? Yes, the rock owl has something to do with Luo. But the rock owl of Luo gang. Not you. Just before Xiao Yang came to the wooden door, he wanted to open the door and go out. Outside the entrance, Qin Zhong looked surprised and looked not far behind him. There, an old man with a gloomy face was walking slowly. The old man's breath is more than several times stronger than Qin Zhong. He seems to be a strong man of 6-star and half-emperor level. When Xiao Yang heard the voice, he frowned slightly, and the palm he wanted to lift was slowly put down again. Then, the corners of his mouth provoked a sneer, and the soul power spread out, observing the situation outside the porch at the moment. If what I expected was right, the news posted on me by the Void Thunder Pool was released by you, Li Gan. His eyes narrowed and ignored Li Gan's words. Qin Zhong stared at the figure walking away slowly opposite and scolded angrily. That man is the ancestor of the Li family in the wild ancient city, Li Gan. Brother Qin Zhong, you can't say that. The Void Thunder Pool post is for those who can get it. Hiding like you is useless after all. As soon as the time comes, the thunder post in your hand will inevitably be taken away. I just want you to know better. Li Gan didn't deny Qin Zhong's indignation. During his speech, his steps didn't stop and walked straight towards Qin Zhong. You expected me to come here. Qin Zhong's face was full of vigilant anger. The fighting spirit in his body had spread all over his body and was always ready to deal with Li Gan in front of him. After all, the only thing you can rely on in this wild ancient city is Yang Xiao. No, you are willing to sacrifice your life for him. He naturally keeps this feeling in mind. Now he has disappeared, of course you will find here. But it seems to be earlier than I expected. Li Gan's mouth was filled with a sinister smile, and his eyes were full of cold light. Xiao Yang and Mo Zhai are fighting each other. In that case, let them fight. It's best to fight with both sides hurt, and he only cares about the empty thunder pool. It's a good calculation, but even so, brother Yang Xiao will know if you dare to kill me under Laro Luo's eyes. Qin Zhong's face trembled unceasingly, and Li Gan in front of him was really a vicious generation. Li Gan smiled at the speech, lifted his eyes and said, "Who said he would kill you? I know that the result will be very troublesome. Therefore, I only need the void minefield post in your hand, which is enough." Qin Zhong's heart is slightly relaxed. At least, Li Gan in front of him will not hurt his life, but he can't lose his guard. Even if you grab the Void Thunder Pool post from me, I'm afraid you can't keep it. Oh. Well, don't bother brother Qin Zhong. Qin Zhong wants to delay any longer. He hopes to think of some way to escape. The gap between the 3-star half-emperor and the 6-star half-emperor is too big to be touched, but Li Gan obviously didn't want Qin Zhong to escape. Before his voice fell, Li Gan, who was only a few feet away from the latter, rioted in an instant and grabbed Qin Zhong. In an instant, Li Gan had come to Qin Zhong. The fierce wind blew hard on Qin Zhong, making him almost suffocate. The momentum of the 6-star and half-emperor poured all over Qin Zhong, making it difficult for him to move. Qin Zhong could not avoid this blow, while Li Gan grabbed the head of the forward with a terrible momentum. Although it is impossible for Li Gan to really kill Qin Zhong, he is still confident of his ability if he only hurts his muscles and bones. Even if Yang Xiao really comes to him at that time, he can't take him. In the face of the fierce blow, Qin Zhong knew he was not an opponent, but now Li Gan had come in front of him. The fierce fighting spirit made Qin Zhong like a thorn in his back. It was too late to retreat at the moment. Qin Zhong is not a coward after all. He has a hot temper. He is afraid of Li Gan because of the span of strength. But now that the arrow is already on the string, he has to send it. Instead of waiting for death, he might as well give it a go. Maybe there will be a turn for the better. It's just a pity that even though Qin Zhong tries his best, his strength is only 3 stars and half-emperor after all. Compared with Li Gan in front of him, it is a distance of 3 stars. For Qin Zhong, this gap in strength can be called a gap in heaven. Sure enough, it was just a face-to-face meeting. Qin Zhong only insisted on breathing for a few times, and was defeated by Li Gan's sarcastic eyes. In this war, Qin Zhong didn't even have a chance to fight back. It's hard to imagine that Xiao Yang and Li dare to force the latter to admit defeat in the war. How terrible Xiao Yang's strength is. Jia. You can't be distracted when fighting. Just when Qin Zhong was surprised by Xiao Yang's strength, Li Gan sneered, but the voice sounded quietly from his ear. Bang! Without waiting for Qin Zhong's response, Li Gan's whip legs full of explosive terrorist power have bombarded Qin Zhong's abdomen. Qin Zhong's body flew out uncontrollably and fell in front of the small courtyard. His chest stood up, and his blood burst out of his mouth angrily, reddening a large void. Jia. However, Sangsing Bandi was distracted during the war with me. You really don't pay attention to me. Li Gan sneered and walked slowly towards Qin Zhong. Although the blow just made Qin Zhong not seriously injured, it was enough to make him more difficult to resist. Bah! Haha, Li Gan, do you know why I was distracted just now? Facing Li Gan's sneer, Qin Zhong showed a touch of sarcasm and laughed. Huh! With a slight frown, Li Gan stared at Qin Zhong with his eyes narrowed. He was a little angry. The turbulent fighting spirit slowly condensed in the palm under his sleeve robe. Ha ha, the reason why I was distracted just now is because I remembered the war between the Rock Owl and you. The 6-star and half-emperor was soft in front of a 3-star and half-emperor, ha ha ha. As soon as he spoke, Li Gan was already furious. His face suddenly became gloomy. His body moved for a moment. He came to Qin Zhong, who had not yet got up, and grabbed Qin Zhong's neck. Bang! However, just when Qin Zhong was ready to be tyrannically abused by Li Gan in front of Qin Zhong suddenly flew out, like a shell, and smashed into the house. Rock Owl, are you really here? Seeing the black-robed figure in front of him, Qin Zhong was stunned. He thought he was just caught in Li Gan's trap, but he didn't think that Xiao Yang was really here. In this regard, Xiao Yang also nodded and smiled. He didn't expect that Qin Zhong came here because he was tricked by Li Gan. However, it can be regarded as self-defeating. Qin Zhong really ran into this kind of luck. Oh, Li Gan, last time I gave you a chance, I didn't expect you to hit me on the head again. Looking back, Xiao Yang looked at Li Gan, who came out of the ruins. His eyes were full of cold. Last time, it was because Luo Laro was present and many strong men in the wild ancient city watched, so they didn't kill. Unexpectedly, Li Gan dared to shoot the people around him. He really didn't live up to the word dare in his name. Without any precaution, he completely suffered an 8-pole avalanche, which also hurt Li Gan. In particular, the 8 heavy dark strength made him suffer. At the moment, his blood was still churning in his body. As soon as he came out of the ruins and saw Xiao Yang, Li Gan's face suddenly changed. The gloomy color on his face immediately disappeared and was replaced by a deep, dignified one. Naturally, he knows Xiao Yang's strength in person. If he really fights, with Xiao Yang's means, if he uses the last different fire wheel again, he has no hope of living at all. Bastard! Why is this guy really here? If you fight him here, you can't get any advantage. Hearing Xiao Yang's words, Li Gan was also secretly shocked. The simplest muscle was a violent twitch. He regretted that he had invited Qin Zhong to come for the Void Thunder Pool post. Now, it's just digging his own grave. Xiao Yang's strength is needless to say. There is a herbalist guild and union pavilion behind him. For him alone, the North King can at least draw with Li Gan. Coupled with Xiao Yang's terrible fighting skills, Li Gan has no chance of winning in the face of Xiao Yang. Therefore, since you can't fight anyway, the only way now is to escape. Thinking of this, Li Gan couldn't help but squint his eyes. A dark light flashed in the depths of his eyes, and a sneer appeared in the corners of his mouth, which seemed to be on his mind. He, it's brother Yang Xiao. Why, Qin Zhong is your friend. Facing Xiao Yang, Li Gan is afraid to be careless. Although Xiao Yang looks young, his strength is at this level after all. Which one will be a second lung? Hearing Li Gan pretending to be a fool like this, Xiao Yang sneered in his heart, but asked with a suspicious look on his face. Oh, why, brother Qin Zhong is my friend. Now almost everyone in the whole wild ancient city knows this. Don't you know it, Mr. Li Gan? Li dared to smell the speech, and a look of surprise suddenly appeared on his face. It seemed that he didn't know it at all. That's right. Brother Yang Xiao may not know. I've been closed for nearly a month. I didn't leave the pass until yesterday. I'm eager to find the Void Thunder Pool post. I heard a rumor in the city that brother Qin Zhong has here, so I worked hard to find him and wanted to exchange things. I just didn't expect that it would evolve into this. It's really a misunderstanding. Hearing Li Gan's sophistry, Qin Zhong suddenly couldn't bear it. He was a hot-tempered man. He didn't converge until his strength reached the semi-emperor level. But now Li Gan is so confused with black and white. How can he bear it? But just as Qin Zhong was about to explode, Xiao Yang whispered quietly and stabilized Qin Zhong. Oh, I want to see what tricks Li Gan wants to play. After a sneer in his heart, Xiao Yang stared at Li Gan with his eyes full of Senhan's killing intention, saying, Yes, misunderstanding, but I heard it really in the hospital just now. You forced Qin Zhong here step by step. What you did was the Void Thunder Pool post in his hand. So, do you want to continue to explain? As soon as this remark came out, the atmosphere in the field suddenly became gloomy. Li Gan was also angry. After talking for a long time, Xiao Yang in front of him had heard what he had said before. Rock owl, how dare you tease me? Since the words have been explained, Li Gan won't continue to make it up, and roared directly at Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang smiled coldly, twisted his neck, looked at Li Gan with 4 eyes, and said coldly, Why, I'm not going to continue. In that case, let me play with you. It happens that I have recently cultivated a fighting skill. I'll practice with you first. The voice fell, Xiao Yang waved his big hand, and the black light flashed. The huge Xian heavy ruler immediately fell into the palm of his hand, and his steps moved slightly. Tianjue's step was displayed in an instant and rushed towards Li Gan. This video will end here.